Hey there. Before we carry on with the video, I have a question. So, do you find my videos interesting or helpful? If you do, why don't you consider liking and subscribing? It really helps the channel out. It helps it to where I can continue to do this more reliably and get more videos out to you. Or if you don't, why don't you leave me a thumbs down and comment and tell me what you think needs improvement. Even negative feedback can help me grow, so if you don't mind doing that, I would greatly appreciate it. And no matter which route you go, thanks for checking us out. And without further ado, let's continue. Hello everyone, welcome back. So this time I want to talk about some optimization that we can do. Optimization is very important in game development because you want everything to function smoothly. You want everything to be managed in a way to where it doesn't cause performance issues or bottlenecks later on, and I do apologize. I taught y'all a fairly bad method. So I've been learning a lot about soft references and hard references, and the way we've set up a few things actually causes a lot of hard references, which causes a lot more data usage and performance kind of mismanagement. So right now our player blueprint is casting to our interactables, which is basically everything in the game, and our interactables are also casting back to the player. This creates a lot of hard references between everything, and it can become like a big tangled web of trying to you might not notice any performance issues in like when you're test playing certain things, but as the game goes on and you play longer, it would become much more noticeable. So let's take a look at how we can do this with tags and interfaces and reduce our hard references a lot. So the first thing I want to look at is our interaction management. So we actually don't need to be casting at all and adding anything to this array. What we can do is we can add a new function over here that I will just call interaction. Oop. Hang on one second. That's from that stupid little intro video. Alright, so our interaction thing. Hang on. Sorry about that. Our interaction thingy we want to do an sphere trace for objects. For objects, there it is. So let's, oh yeah, if we do it from the mesh, it misfires. So let's add to our mesh, just highlight your mesh, we will add a scene component. There it goes. And this will be whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it interact fire, because this is where we'll fire the interact function from. So I am going to get its world location, get its forward vector, and then just like we set up all our other ones, we're going to add to the world vector a multiplication of the forward vector, and for this one I'm going to go about 100. Plug that in like that. That's the end, that's the start. So we'll get the world location and add a float to the forward vector to get our endpoint, and this is going to be, for the radius I'm going to say 50. We can adjust that as we need it. I'm going to set the draw debug type to for duration, and then for the object types, let's just make an array. And I am just going to add 2 pins to it, so it'll be world static, world dynamic, and pawn. Might not actually need that many, but this will be fine. So now out here in our event graph, in our interact function, we can disconnect this, and then just hook that interact function up right there. Now, all of this has become that. Oh, and one more thing we'll need to do is this interact fire from. We need to position it where we want it. So I'm going to go up and rotate it 90 degrees, because by default for some reason it's facing the wrong way, so it's rotating it gets it firing the right. So now when we come out, wherever we're looking, which we can increase that radius if we need to. Yeah, let me just increase that real quick. So I'll set it to maybe not 90, 70. See, it's interacting with that. We can interact with them, it'll all work. Then what we can do over here on the out hit is break the hit result, add a branch to see if we overlapped with something. And then if we did, we'll get this hit actor and just call our interact blueprint interface message directly. So now we can continue picking things up, interact with our shops or our quests, harvestables, everything. And we don't actually have to cast to them in order to get their information and put them in an array and do all this. We can actually delete all this. It will take away our ability. We can use another blueprint interface node to get this. But we'll go over that in a little bit. So now for our base interactable over here. When we're interacting with something, we are casting to the player and telling it to, and hardwiring our pickup function. Instead of that, let's go into our interact blueprint interface. We'll add a new function in here called pickup, because this interface is also applied to our player, so it can access the functions in here. And then for the input, let's add an item, and it will be item info. Item info struct there. Oh, come on. Item info struct. Now let's compile that real quick, and then on our base interactable, we can get rid of, well, we can get rid of these two. We can keep the get player character because this is more of a soft reference, whereas the casting to the player blueprint creates a hard reference, so it can actually access functions inside. So just like I can access the pickup item function in here, or I can access any of its variables like sword drawn and all that. This is a soft connection to the player character and doesn't let us do any of that. We can call interface messages like this, but like if I try to get that sword drawn boolean, it won't let me because it doesn't have a hard reference to it. It's more of a soft, like a general idea of who it is rather than a full-on. So we can get rid of the cast to player, get rid of this, and then from the get player character we will just call our pickup message. And then plug our item info to it just like that. And then finish off our line just like that. Now there's another thing that we'll need to do inside here. So I'm gonna clean up a lot of this real quick. So sorry that we gotta do all this, but you know, as you learn things, apologize for showing you all the wrong way to begin with, but I thought the other ways were the right way of doing it. But on our player character, let's compile real quick so that it updates the interact BPI, and then we'll do event pickup, and then here we can call our pickup item function and then feed it in just like that. So now I run up, I pick that up, it's in my inventory just like it was. I don't have to be casting back and forth. It really will save on performance in the long run and just really helps out. So what we can do is we can add a few more things in here. So I'm going to add display item. Let's see, we got our fire pit that we'll need, so fire pit toggle, we'll just call it toggle, and it will take an input of a boolean, well, the display item will take in an item info. Probably should have set this one up before I switch to the other one. Item info. Why does it do that? I don't understand. Click it and it acts like nothing happened. Alright, so another thing that has pretty hard references is our base harvestable, which, depending on how you've done it, is possibly a lot of foliage in your game. So what we would want to do is basically the same thing. We'll get rid of the cast on both sides and just do our pickup message. Oh, well, let's get rid of that. Move this to this side of the loop body. And plug our item info right here. And then on the false side, we'll do the same thing. So we'll get rid of this. Plug the false up. Call our pickup message. And plug it in right there. So, harvestables. So just to double check real quick that it is still functioning as it should. And still picking up wood. Excellent. And cutting down on our hard references. Hooray. So the fire pit, instead of doing like this, on component begin overlap, we will get the other one and call a fire pit toggle message. And then on this one we'll just say yes. We can copy and paste this over. And then in our player blueprint we'll just do our fire pit event fire pit toggle. Get our near flame. We'll set the near flame rather. And we can set it to what the incoming information is. So we'll compile that real quick. Let's see. So I don't know if you can really tell, but that bottom square is more see-through than the top. But yep, that's working on in one direction. What did I do? Oh, I forgot to untick the leave function. So now the bottom one is see-through, not see-through, see-through. So it's working just like it was, but better. So another thing that we can use to optimize things, instead of using the interface to cast back and forth, we can use tags. So a tag creates another soft reference where it just checks the other actor for a certain label, basically, that you've applied, and then it can do things based on that. So instead of casting to the player, which creates basically a hard reference but then doesn't even utilize it, we can just see if this other actor that's ending the overlap has a tag. So let's go over here and we can do shop open and Boolean, so this will compare both things. So if the shop is open when something ends over the up and the thing that overlapped has a tag of player, then we call our check function, which closes down our menu. So in order to add that tag, I don't know if we already have or not, but we'll go into the player blueprint, go up to the top. Over in the details panel, we can search for tags, and yep, it already has it. So this should automatically go back to doing the way it was. So shopkeeper, I run away, there we go. Now another thing that we were doing in here is casting to turn the player invisible, but it wasn't even turning the armor and stuff invisible. So for my version of things, I'm just gonna disconnect this because I've found that using the camera switch doesn't even really look that good personally, I don't think. I mean, it's nice that it moves in, but I kind of like it not like this is how I do it in my game now. Just the menu pops up and then all that. If you wanted to, you could create another interact blueprint function that communicates which actor you're looking at and then does all this, but in my opinion it's more hassle than it's really worth, especially this turning the player invisible stuff. Setting the camera I suppose wouldn't be too bad if you maybe repositioned it. You know what, I'll do that. Let's see. So I'll put this back real quick. Target is, let's hook to here. New view target is self. And then repositioning the camera a little bit can help, you know, depending on what your situation is. If you got them in a shop or whatever, you can set different things. So it didn't go back. Oh. So that looks a little bit better than the turning the character invisible, especially when you're holding stuff and it doesn't turn the swords invisible, so you're just floating pieces of armor just chilling. But yeah, that'll clean up our references here a little bit more. Fire pit is cleaned up, harvestables are cleaned up, magic teacher. Kind of do the same thing. Oh, set input mode. I think I deleted that on the other one. Set input mode, game and UI. No? No, there was it. Okay. So, just gonna get rid of this. Doing the same thing for the magic shop. Don't really care to turn the player invisible. I can always just reposition this camera where I wanted it, just like that. And I think you were my magic teacher. And the way you can kind of tell if you got your camera in a good spot is if you come out into the map and then highlight your character, you can see the camera. So we can pin it right here, and this was my magic teacher. So click that like that, and then as I move and rotate this camera, I can kind of see where it's. So I'll just set it right here. Unpin that, come back in. Why is it pinned still? I don't know. And then just like that. Oh, and then we'll gotta set up the same thing. So magic teacher. Did I never just check? Okay, so we can just copy all this from the shopkeeper over into the magic teacher. So for our interact, we'll do a custom event called check. Just like that. Target is magic teacher. Refresh. Shop open could not be found. How are we doing it up here? Shop window open. Okay, so we'll just replace this with that. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so it's cleaning up really well. There is a slight issue towards, since we're doing world static, it'll also interact with things. So if you're trying to pick things up, like if I had this sword right here, say it was like on a table or something, I was like, ooh, look, a sword I can steal, and I tried to pick it up, it's not gonna let me. But let's just remove that pin and see if it works with just world dynamic, because it should be considered a world dynamic. That's pawn. That's pretty dynamic. And then we can pick stuff up that's on it. So the world static isn't necessarily needed. The world static is more like a, like if you're running up and you're trying to interact with this. We don't really care to be interacting with a wall. We want to interact with the stuff that's on the wall that was, you know, placed. What in the world? Oh. Another thing we can fix is our bush right there. The one we set up to be a respawning bush. We can get rid of this too. So we don't need that anymore. We'll just do our pickup function just like that. And then we can really get rid of all of this, because it is no longer needed. But one thing we will need to do is, hold up, wait a minute. No, we do need this part. We need this part. That's my bad. We don't need this or this, but we do need this little section with the delay, setting it back to interactable, and then setting it not hidden in game anymore. But we can get rid of this part, that part, all that. So once we set the actor hidden in game, then we want to set actor enable collision, and we'll set that to false. Because otherwise, just like you saw how it was, I was interacting with something that wasn't there. So set actor enable collision, and then we'll set this up on its own. Actually, no, we'll just plug it in right there. No point creating the custom function just for that. And then we will copy this, paste it at the very end, and then set the collision back to true. So now, once it's gone, it's not interacting with anymore. I'm still picking it up. I don't have any hard references to it. And it kind of gives you a little bit more, instead of standing here and just spamming the pickup button. Well, you still can, but you get stuff that's around you more. And you can kind of face the direction in case you're like, oh, oh, look at that shield. Oh, but no, I want that shield. And that kind of stuff. So, but there is one more thing we need to fix before we end it. This is probably becoming a fairly long video. I'm sorry, but oh. So now our sword will interact with it again, as well as our shield, but that little circle of green lines around the character looks kind of cool. I'm sorry. I hope this isn't too long. 25 minutes, that's pretty long. I apologize. But this will be the last thing we'll fix real quick, and then your newly optimized game will be ready for us to do something in the next one. So, in here where we're spawning our gear, so we're checking to see if it's valid. We're spawning the actual actors. Instead of setting it to not interactable, we can just set actor collision, set actor enable collision, and then just disable it. So just like that. So everywhere we spawn an actor, we can just copy this, paste it, plug it in just like that, and then move on down the line, delete that, paste in, plug in, delete that, paste in, plug in, and then I think we got one more over here, two more. Delete, paste, plug, delete. Ooh, oh. And just like that. Oh, but we want to make sure that we're plugging in this blue wire to the target for which actor we want to disable the collision on. I don't think I did that on any of them up here. So we'll hook that blue line up real quick. That one's good, that one's good. Alright, so sword, shield, bow. So now I disabled the collision. Where's the sword? It's the weapon socket. So let's see, we're spawning gear here. Change sword. It worked the other time. Let me see, spawn gear. Where the hell is that spawn gear function? There it is. New actor, enable collision. It's the sword ref. Oh. I thought it was hooked up. That one was not. No. So now we're not interacting with that. But we can pick up all this, and get that bow, and then that. And none of our items are interactable when they're equipped, so we don't have to worry about that. Doesn't interfere with our ability to pick anything up. We have fixed a lot of our hard reference issues, and it's all coming up pretty good. So what we can do is we can go ahead and get rid of this for duration on the draw debug. Just like that. Oh, there is one more thing we need to fix, is that item thing popping up. So in our interact, we set up the display item, and it takes in item info. So, and I said this one would be over and done. So what we can do is, instead of doing this, we can make this check item info, get rid of that tag. It'll take an input of our item info. Oh, item info. Then we'll just get rid of that. So this thing was casting to that every few seconds. We don't need this anymore. So we'll just plug this in directly. Oh, no. Let's see, our check item info will also have to have a boolean. I guess, yep, twice. Then we create a boolean on our check item info in here. Oops. And then true goes to the top, and oh, true goes to the top. Come on now. False to the bottom. And then we'll just do that. So now on our base interactable, on the overlap with the sphere where we were setting up our check item thingy, let's go down here to onComponent begin overlap, and we'll add an on end overlap, and then with the overlapped actor we will just call that display item message. Item info, and then true, and then call the same thing, item info on our other actor, and then just set it to false because we don't need it anymore. So in theory that one should work. I actually forgot to check this one before. So check item info, that's the custom event. Here's the custom event. So event display item. Just like that. What we can do is on this display item we can promote this boolean to a variable called displaying. Right there, and then plug this in directly like that. And then instead of using this boolean here, we'll just do this here, just like that. So then at the end we can add our delay. Again, branch, displaying still, And if so, then we will just check item info. And then you can either promote this to a variable itself, or I'm just going to feed this all the way through. I usually hate the overlapping lines, but you know, it is what it is. So now we get the interact on her. Got my sword back. Don't have to worry about that constant. Why is she a health potion? Interact, interact. You're a health potion. Interact. You have an interact? I can't interact with you. Green herb is pulling up right. Rusty sword. Wooden bow. Everything's doing just like it should. Good deal. So why are you... I guess what we could do is in our base interactable add a branch right here to see if it's even interactable first. And if true, then we'll do that. And then why are you a health potion? Oh, because you're a health potion. Okay, so instead you need to be interactable. Interacting. No longer a health potion. And no longer pops up. Good deal. And then once these are ending their overlap, they're automatically being removed. All our hard references are gone. Everything's working the exact same though, except for it will... I know this one was a long one and I apologize, but I really apologize for originally showing you all the flawed method, but this will definitely help with performance, getting rid of all those hard references and such. So I know this one was a little bit long, but it will be definitely worth it in the long run. So thank you for stopping by and checking it out, and I will see y'all soon. Bye bye.